Death Game Episode 1. Let's dive in. First off, trigger warning because the series is heavily focused on death and suicide, so please be warned. Now, Episode 1 starts off with our main character, Hee Jae, which is played by Seo In Guk. He is crying and someone holds a gun to his head and shoots. That's how it starts. Now, it goes back 7 years into his life, and it shows us, kind of the progression of things that happen. So he's a college student and he's trying to get employed. In Korea, getting a job is the goal. So from a young age, kids have to go to school and they're pressured to do well in school. They go to school, after school they go to academies because the goal is to get into a good university, because getting in a good university means that you have a higher chance of securing a job. So you can imagine the pressure that every child, adolescent, young adult goes through in Korea, and to miss an opportunity to get a good job pretty much means that your life is over. That's doom, pretty much. So you can imagine it's not easy. Now, back to episode 1. Main character, he pretty much experiences a crazy trauma where someone commits suicide in front of him. And he was on his way to a job interview. He's still a college student, ready to graduate, and this was supposed to be his big break. Get a job, his future is secured, at least to some extent. But the trauma of witnessing that person commit suicide in front of him affects the way he does on the interview, and he ends up failing. Essentially, this one event causes him to lose control of his life. Nothing seems to go his way. And just when things seem like it would get better, he's dealt with another blow. He loses his savings, his investment. Someone takes it and runs away. So it's just gone. He is kicked out of his house. His things are thrown out, and he's just now technically homeless. He breaks up with his longtime girlfriend, who stayed with him throughout this 7 years of hardship that he's gone through. Jisoo, who is played by Ko Yoon-jung. So he breaks up with her, I think mainly out of guilt. She's stuck with him. He can't provide for her, and there are better prospects out for her. And then he fails to secure the job that he recently just applied to. He gets a notification he didn't pass this interview. With all that's going on, this is pretty much a complete loss of hope after 7 years of painstaking hard work, crazy amounts of part-time jobs that he's been doing, and in a plea to seek control, some kind of control over his life, he decides that the best way for him to do that is to end his life. And even in death, he learns the hard way that he still has no control. Very scary, right? Now, when he takes his own life, he meets death. And death is played by Park So-dam. And he is then told that he must go through 12 people's lives who will inevitably die. So he's going to experience dying over and over and over and over 12 times. And there's a catch, though. If he's able to live and survive in whoever's body he's in at that specific time, then he can continue on living that person's life. So then we see the first life that he goes through. He gets put into the body of Park Jin-tae, who is the CEO of Taekwondo Group, which is the job that he was applying for before he took his own life. And that character is played by Choi Si Won. That life didn't last very long. He passes away fairly fast in a very gruesome way by fire. He is, he meets death again, and the really terrible part that I think is that he has to keep dying, not just with the 12 lives that he's going to have to go through. In order to be sent into a person's life, he has to die. So death has to kill him. And then he goes to live in someone else's life, and he's most likely going to die in that life. So it's almost like he's dying like instead of just 12 times over, like, over and over until 12 times. He's pretty much dying 24 times because death has to shoot him, and that sends him into someone's life. He has to live that person's life, and then inevitably dies. A lot of dying. So death shoots him in the head, and then he is sent into the second person's life. So he gets thrown into Song Jae-sup's life, and Song Jae-sup is an adrenaline junkie, daredevil. He's doing all these extreme sports, and he jumps out of a plane with no parachute because the goal is to be caught in a net somewhere on the floor. And if he does this, then he gets a crazy amount of money from his sponsors. But lo and behold, he misses and he dies. And that is the end of episode 1. So it's pretty interesting. I'm excited to continue watching and trying to see what comes next and who the different lives are, and is he gonna get a chance to live, or is he just gonna continue to be punished and die, and that's the end of it?